Welcome back, Statliners, to another episode of Bats and Stats presented by ScoutTheStatline.com. I am, as always, Brian, my compadre, just Ross. We got a long one today. And we are going to be doing the top 30 outfielders by ScoutTheStatline.com. 30, Ross. 30 of them.
30. We're doing all 30 in one sitting. So by the time this comes out, it's probably going to be 2024, the new year. We're recording the day before New Year's Eve. So this is going to be our New Year's Eve celebration. And it's going to be joyous. And it's probably going to be the most inebriated bats and stats that we've ever done. Because we got ours now.
It's probably going to be the 30 through 15 is going to go really well. 15 to 1, you might hear some radical shit come out of our mouths.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we do that, obviously, Happy New Year to everyone. I got a little inspirational message or statement, I guess, resolution, if you want to put it that way. It's my resolution, but I hope everybody does this if you're like me. So a little bit about me. I'm a very competitive guy. I turn everything into a competition. I don't know why. I've always been that way. But I always strive to be better than everybody, whether it be just in sports or in jobs. In life in general, I always want to be the best. And I think that's a bad thing. It can be good. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a bad thing because I'm always comparing myself to somebody else rather than just being the best that I can be. So that's my New Year's resolution. I want to be the best Brian that I can be and not better than everybody else. I think... Do you understand what I'm saying? Where that's kind of a bad thing. You're just always competing with somebody. It's not good for you. So that's my resolution.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. That's an awesome resolution. I mean, I'm a very competitive person too, as you know, but always striving to be the best that you can be and not trying to be, just better than other people. That's super noble. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It popped into my head this morning, so I thought I'd share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, enough with the I don't know, tearjerker stuff or something. I don't know. Let's get into our beers.
Okay, well, you shared a resolution. I don't really do resolutions so much. I just try to reflect on my past year and, think of the things that I probably do a little bit better and then focus on doing that. I try to do that every day, right? That's the goal. Some days I come up a little short and that's okay too, but the process of continuous improvement, I think, is what it's all about. So I'm not one for resolution specifically, but I want to get better as a person, grow as a person. I'd also like STS to expand and improve as well. So, looking forward to it. Let's go.
Got it. Now you're bringing the competition back in me, and now we got to destroy the Dynasty Gurus and Prospect Live. And just teasing.
Yeah, all of our friends out there, we're going to take them down.
Put their heads on pikes, as you always
say.
That's right. Just teasing everyone. But yeah, without further ado, let's do our beers. We got to be drinking during this thing, and I'm going to let you go first. I'm pretty excited about mine. I'm going to let you go first. But you mentioned that you have a few.
Well, I got a whole 6-pack of a variety of beers over here. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into detail because this is 3 hours. I'm probably going to be, having a few of these. But I would like to at least share what I'm drinking with the crew so they have an idea. Maybe there's something here that you want to go pick out and try. So this first one is Duchess Petite Barrel Aged Sour Ale. The interesting thing here is a lot of these there's some barrel aged beers in here, and then I got a lot of IPAs. I got some Imperial IPAs. So we're running the gamut as far as ABVs. This is probably not quite as strong being a sour ale, even though it's barrel aged. In fact, it says it's 4.5%. So indeed, but we're starting it out easy with a sour ale.
I like it. It looks good to me. I like sours. I've been kind of kicking on those a little bit lately.
I do too. I don't feel like they're drinkers for me, as in I'm going to put in a session with them. But I do like the taste of one on occasion. So let's try this one. It's a darker as you can tell. Barrel aged. That's not surprising. Oh, that's good.
Good.
That's a winner. Good. Yeah, for sure. It's not super sour. That one's pretty drinkable. It almost tastes like a dry cider. It's interesting.
What was the name of that? It was Petite, but by who? Who was that?
Duchess.
Duchess.
Barrel aged sour.
Who are they from?
Well, I think Duchess is the name of the brewery.
Okay. Where's that?
No. Let's see. Okay, this is what I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to give you the description here. It says Duchess Petite, so that is the name, is an authentic Flemish red ale, brewed and bottled in Belgium. This refined ale, also known as the Burgundies of Belgium, is a blend of beer matured in different oak casks for many months, 100% natural. It says it is brewed and bottled by, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that, Brewerij Verachi. I mean, I'll try to hold it real close. That's the name right there. Brewerij Verachi.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but it's very good. What do you got?
Okay. I really like this name to start off with, but it's Excelsior. It's like a flying giraffe in outer space. Excelsior by Schilling Cider House. It's got a long-winded little text on here. It's going to be a cider. It's a hard cider. It's 9.1%. I got 2 6-packs of this stuff. So I'm going to be feeling really, really nice if I clear these guys out by the time we're done here.
How strong? Yeah. How strong is it?
9.1.
Wow. That seems extremely high for a cider.
Yeah, it's an imperial mango cider. It's gonna be good. I did get a new cup. I got a new cup for Christmas.
Very nice.
Go. Yeah, go Pack Go.
Love it. So go ahead and do your pour while you're doing that. Very light. We're probably going to break this into, we are going to break this up, no doubt about it. Probably be released in 3 segments over the next few weeks. So we'll probably group it by 10s, do 30 through 21, then 20 through 11, and then the top 10. It's going to be really good stuff. All right, let's hear it.
God, it smells good. Wow. That is really tart. Really, really tart. And I love it. It's really flavorful of mango. Really tart. I might have to cut. I might have to do like one of these and then a Coors Light and then another one of these and a Coors Light.
Is that really good? Is that your other? You got Coors Light as well over there?
Oh, I always have Coors Light. The garage fridge always has Coors Light.
Okay, so you got a 6-pack of this mango cider and then some Coors Light in there. Yeah.
No, two 6-packs of the mango cider.
Oh, you got so you got 12 of those suckers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, baby.
Okay. Well, so I was saying this one kind of tastes like a cider, but it's not tart. This is a drinker. Like you could have several of these and not need to separate it. I think it's interesting. I didn't get more than one of them. I just got one, but
the nice thing about these, especially with that high of an alcohol content, is it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, We're going to be here at least 3 hours. Let's not kid ourselves. But let's jump into Mr. 30. I think this is a fitting guy, too, for this year. Didn't Super Mario Brothers come out this year? Or was that last year?
No, I think it was this year.
We got to call this guy Bowser, right? It's got to be Bowser.
Colton Cowser.
Our first one is Colton Cowser. Colton Cowser is 6'2", 220 pounds. He's a 23-year-old with the Baltimore Orioles. He was drafted in round 1, pick 5 overall out of college Sam Houston. He did debut last year. But let's talk about his minor league numbers here. He had, in 2023, 323 at-bats at the AAA affiliate. His average was 300, on-base percentage of 417, and slugged 520 with the on-base plus slugging of 937. He had 9 stolen bases, was caught 3 times, 17 home runs. He struck out 107 times and walked 64 times. I'm a touch baffled why Colton Cowser is at number 30. I think he should be much higher. I'm a pretty big fan of Cowser. How's your feelings on this one?
Okay, so we talked about Cowser last year, and he was ranked considerably higher, which is probably a surprise to a lot of people, considering he made his pro debut this year, and his numbers on the surface are certainly better this year than they were last year. So let's dig into it a little bit, and I'll do my best to try to explain why I think he has dropped on STS, and I guess what I think my outlook on him is, because I was a little suspect to Cowser, I think, last year. He's very, very high-end prospect, clearly. Highly drafted kid out of Sam Houston, and he was pretty hot out of the gate this year and earned himself a major league call-up, and he struggled in the major leags. Yeah. So he struggled in the major leagues, and I want to try to get the splits on his minor time if I can, just because I haven't looked that up yet. But I think it looks like his minor league numbers also came down. So was he sent back down, do you know?
I thought he was called up at the end of the year and was with the ball club into the playoffs.
Well, let's see what we can find out about that. Because his numbers were lower than I remember them being, and it might have just been because he was so hot out of the gate. But I think that, coupled with his major league debut, which wasn't that strong, is what has knocked him down so much, because in the old model, we only looked at minor league stats. In this new model, we also include their major league performances up until they lose eligibility. So I've got his splits up here, and indeed, he was really hot in the first half of the season, like blazing hot. And then in July, he only hit 125. So really struggled in July. And August and September never really recovered. So it's possible that we're looking at some kind of nagging injury sort of situation, just because it's so stark, his first half and his second half. Very clear. And, I'm not sure, at this point, I'm not sure which Cowser we're going to get, because that first half Cowser was so good and would clearly be ranked much higher in these rankings here. As it is, he comes in at number 30 on the low end of our ranking list, but he does make it, so that's notable. I think he's got a pretty bright future. The strikeouts are something that are a cause of concern and something to keep an eye on. In 2022, they were pretty bad. He really did a good job cutting those numbers down this year, so that's a promising step forward. And he's already made his major league debut, so that's saying something.
And on a ball club that I'm really excited about. The Orioles have a fantastic future. If they can keep all these guys together, it's going to be something to behold, and Cowser is going to be a part of that.
Yep. So overall, I'd agree with you that he's low here. Yeah. He's low, but I also think the market might slightly overvalue Cowser, and I think if there's something you can take away from that, it's probably that. So if you're looking to upgrade prospects, this could be one of those guys that you look at shifting for somebody that our model likes a little bit more, that also has the pedigree, because Cowser is very well respected out there.
So that's not a go get him. He's almost a sell for you.
I think I'm not going to call him a sell. I think that would undersell what I think his capabilities are. But I am going to say, like, he is a sell opportunity. He is somebody that if I owned him, I don't know if I would actively be trying to sell him, but if I could see that perspective where it's like, I think I could get someone like who's a good example? Like a Colt Emerson for a Colton Cowser. I might be willing to do that kind of an exchange. So
okay.
Just depends. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about. I don't want to say go get him, but I'd like him a lot. I think it's team dependent. This is a team dependent situation. If you really want an outfielder, I think you go get him. Or if you really need an outfield, you go get him. But if you have a few guys ahead of him, I don't think he's upgrading a good outfield situation. If that makes any sense. I think he's an everyday, really good MLB player. I don't think he's an all-star.
Yeah.
So with that, I don't think he's a go get him. That's odd to say to me, though. I really like Cowser.
Yeah, I mean, his projections are still pretty solid. Slash line projection is 241, 344, 371. Less power than I think you'd like to see from Cowser in his projections. And that strikeout rate, he projects for 26% K percent, which is high. That's what I was saying. You want to keep an eye on. Nonetheless, he is in the top 100 for hitting prospects, and he garners a comp that's pretty good to JT Realmuto.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Not bad.
That's kind of interesting. He doesn't have much speed. Realmuto, I guess he's got 34 stolen bases in his career. So, I mean, he's not slow by any means. But yeah, okay, cool. That's number 30. We're moving on. We're moving on to number 29. Mr. Number 29 is going to rhyme with Cowser. It's going to be Kyle Stowers. I guess that doesn't rhyme, but it's pretty close. He's with the Baltimore Orioles. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. He is 25 years old. He was drafted pick 71 overall out of college Stanford. He did debut last year and the year before, I believe he debuted as well. But last year he sat in 3 different places. There was an injury here because he played for the rookie level and then high A, and then wound up in Triple A. So he had 233 at bats at Triple A, 18 in high A, and 5 or 7 in the rookie level. But at Triple A, let's just break those ones down because those are going to be a little bit more meaningful. He had 233 at bats. Average 245, on base percentage of 364, slugged 511, on base plus slugging 875, 17 home runs, 3 stolen bases, strikeouts 76, walks 40, a little touch high on the strikeouts. What do you think about Kyle Stowers?
So this is such an interesting guy to follow up Cowser with because we've got another Oriole to begin with, and then we've got 2 guys that are potentially vying for a position on the Orioles squad. I mean, Stowers, the strikeouts to me are not super concerning. Probably a little less than they are with Cowser, but they're kind of in that same. Well, actually, now that I'm looking at the projections, they do project him a little bit higher for strikeouts. So maybe I'm seeing something a little bit different. He's got interesting power. He's a little bit older. I think between these 2 guys, you want to give Cowser the edge. For who's going to land that spot. One thing that's kind of boosting up Stowers' overall line is a couple rehab stints, rookie level and high A, where he just totally mashed.
Yeah.
So you mentioned his 875 OPS at AAA. On the season overall, it was 954 with a 566 slugging percentage. So he really just mashed at those low levels in his small stints there. I think that's helping carry his ranking a little bit here. So I would give the edge to Cowser between these guys, but STS has him an inch above.
Yeah. I would imagine he was just seeing some donuts down in the lower levels and just piss pounding them.
Just mashing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not a Stowers fan. I think he's going to be a fourth outfielder unless he gets traded from the Orioles. He's not breaking it out over Mullins, Cowser, and who's the Orioles got a plethora of talent in the outfield, and I can't. My brain's not working very well right now. But I don't think
they got people coming up that will be vying for time too, or that have debuted as well, like Kierstad, Kobe Mayo. Maybe we'll see some time out there as well. I mean,
Mountcastle. Just a
lot. Possibly Mountcastle. There's just a lot of guys out there that they're going to be competing with. What else can I touch on? He does have legitimate power that I think is a touch above what we see from Cowser. He's almost 26 years old, though. 3 days from now will be his birthday, and he'll be 26.
Yeah.
So,
in my mind, this is a trade candidate for the Orioles. In real life, I would imagine they can probably go get something a little bit different than an outfielder. They could use some help in the pitching aspect, but that's real life stuff. Which, I mean, obviously it counteracts with our fantasy lives. But I'm not a Stowers guy. I'm not buying or selling here. If I own him, I'd probably hang on to him, but I'm not going to get him.
I'd agree with that. I don't think he's a go get him necessarily. I don't know if I see him getting consistent playing time in that squad. A trade maybe opens up some opportunity for him, but even so, I think he's kind of fringe. So
Yep. Yeah, I like to say, I'm really good at finding everyday MLBers. Ross is really good at finding the superstars, and I don't see Stowers as being an everyday MLBer. It's just one of those things. I don't know. I'm not on board. Yeah, but I love you, Kyle Stowers. Love you, man.
Prove us wrong. I'd love that. I would love to be proven wrong.
Absolutely. All righty. We are moving on to 28, and we have Mr. Jhonkensy Noel. Did I say that right? Jhonkensy?
Jhonkensy Noel. Yeah, that's right.
It
is a tricky one. Another guy that we talked about last year. Yeah.
Love him. Yeah, we're big fans here. I am, at least. But huge individual. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. He's age 22. He's out of the Dominican Republic. I think I just want to break down this year's stuff. Overall, I guess. Let me do overall here real quick. He's got 1,665 at bats in the minors. His average is 252, on base 331, slugged 476, 94 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 454 strikeouts, 158 walks. This year, though, he had 519 at bats, batted 220, on base of 303, slugged 420, on base plus slugging of 723, 27 home runs, 1 stolen base, got caught 3 times, 145 strikeouts, 49 walks, a bunch of doubles, 23 doubles. He's not showing me what I wanted him to be, because I was a big fan when he got drafted. I was like, man, Noel's going to be a star. He's a big individual. it's just, it hasn't come together yet, but I think this is a huge power bat. What do you got here?
So another guy that we talked about last year, and really interesting because he had a huge breakout in 2021 going back, where he hit 340, and then last year he struggled. And even when he was hitting 340, we were highlighting on the STS side, watch out for the plate discipline. And I think the plate discipline got him last year, and he just didn't really show a ton of improvement in that regard. It looks almost identical, to be honest. Same number of walks, 5 less strikeouts than he had in 2022 this year, 49 walks, 145 strikeouts on this season. Still hitting in the low 200s, but you're right, the power is still there. He hit 32 home runs last year, and this year he hit 27. So a little bit less than we saw last year, but again, he's at AAA now. So he's on the precipice of the major leagues, and he's still just 21 years old.
Yep.
So there's some really good aspects to Jhonkensy Noel, the Jonky, but there are some big red flags too. What are those 145 strikeouts going to look like in the major leagues if he's not showing dramatic improvement with his plate discipline? I mean, what are we looking at? A guy that's striking out 200 times, not getting on base very much, but hitting dingers? What is the highest end outcome for that? Like a Joey Gallo type? And I don't think he's the performer that Joey Gallo was coming up either. So the chances of that outcome are even limited. So he's gotta improve the plate discipline. But big guy, the power is legitimate. It's real. You can't just hack away looking for home runs though if you want to be a major leaguer. So I think he's got work to do. The good news is he's young enough to where he can still make those kinds of adjustments. So STS likes that power potential. They give him 27 home runs per 600 plate appearances. That's pretty high end. And they give him a comp, let's see how you like this, to Daniel Vogelbach.
Oof, Vogues. God, I hope he's faster than Vogelbach.
Well, they project him for 0 stolen bases, so I don't know.
You messed it up just a tad. You said he was 21. He is 22. He'll be 23 in July. He is young. I want to see more. In my mind, I think he's attainable. I mean, really attainable for a very minimal price. And because of that power and my thoughts on him figuring it out and actually putting the bat on the ball, I'm saying go get him because I think it's cheap.
Okay. I can see that. He's a potential power bat that you could add in there. So I guess to clarify, I should have stated he qualified as a 21-year-old for 2023, but you're right. He'll be 22, or he is 22. He'll be 22 this year for most of the season. I don't know if I'm going to say he's a go get him just because I think the pro outcome is looking limited to me right now. I want to see some improvement first. And if I get that, then I'll be all over going after him because there's intrigue here. There's intrigue, and I think you just need to see a little bit of improvement first.
Yeah.
So
I'm behind you on that. The only reason I say go get him is because I think it's very attainable for a very minimal price.
Right.
Yeah. But okay, I love the
We're 3 people. We're 3 in, and I'm on to my second beer.
Oh, I apologize. I already had my second as well. Go ahead.
Another one of those mangoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're getting better.
Well, this one's called. I'm going to do another sour, and then I'm switching it up, and I'm doing more IPAs. This one's called Monk's Cafe Flemish Sour Ale. This one's a little bit stronger at 5.5%. Let's see, anything else to note on it? No, I don't think so, but I'm going to go ahead and crack it, and let's move on to the next guy.
Sweet. All right. Number 28. 28? 27.
27.
27. I'm going to mess up the count real bad. I hope. Okay, so very common name. I'm hoping I looked up the right stats on this guy. So it's Hector Rodriguez. And if you guys jump on MILB and look up names, Rodriguez is like Smith. There's a million of them. There was 4 Hector Rodriguez's, so I hope I chose the right one, Ross. But here we go. We got a 5'8", 186-pound, 19-year-old out of the Dominican Republic, Hector Rodriguez. His stats this year look as 2 different affiliates. First, he started in single A and then made it up to high A. Overall in the season, he had 461 at-bats, batted .293 with an on-base of .343, slugged .495, on-base plus slugging .838, 16 home runs, 18 stolen bases, 94 strikeouts, 28 walks, 25 doubles, 10 triples. I think that's an impressive stat, 10 triples. Anytime you get into double digits, that's a pretty big deal. But Hector Rodriguez, what do you got?
So Hector Rodriguez is one of those guys that I was touting this year. In fact, going back to last year even, I had thought Hector Rodriguez looked like he could have some breakout potential, and I think we got that this year. Though it comes with some stipulations. It wasn't like a massive, he's blown out top 100 list sort of breakout. He started out extremely hot, and he did cool down midway through the season. But he did flash some pretty decent power in the low minors at just 19, and he is still 19, so he's a young 19, but pretty good overall numbers. He had really good numbers last year for the Reds as well, and the Mets before he was traded to the Reds. So I would say this is continuation. There's talent here. You can see it. Good bat to ball skills. The strikeout rate was a little more elevated this year than I was hoping for. It was much lower last year. But again, he was at the rookie level, single A level. His power did kind of taper off when he was promoted to high A. I don't think that that's alarming at this point.
Nope.
But I think the power is better than people were expecting. And I feel like this guy is one of those guys that sort of has a motor on him. I've heard he's not particularly fast, but he does collect stolen bases at a decent clip. He had 18 last year. So something to note. And mostly, I think he's athletic. It's just he's not, he's only 5'8". He's not a big guy. So not extremely fast, but there could be some sneaky speed in there. Yep. I really like Hector Rodriguez, and I'm going to endorse him as a go get him.
Okay.
I think he's a good guy to target and go after.
Nice. So 19 years old, he will be 20 in March. He just stuffs the scoreboard, man. He does everything really well. Nothing really great yet, but yeah, everything really well. This has got 2020 potential written all over it.
Yep, I see that as well. And he's another really interesting player up and coming for the Cincinnati Reds, which, they're making waves as well. So
God, did you ever think we'd live in a world where the Orioles and the Reds have like the best future on the planet? I didn't.
No. Well, and this, there should be some context. One of my really good buddies, my roommate in college, his favorite team is the Orioles. My favorite team is the Cincinnati Reds. And we commiserated in how awful our teams were across the board. And granted, the Reds, the Orioles going way back had some winning teams, but when we were roommates and stuff, no, they were pretty awful. And the Reds had some seasons in there, but I always chalked it up as like, yeah, they look like a great 85 win team, first round exit in the playoffs, and they did that quite a few times. They just were never fully committed to, I guess, the process of building a team from within. And I think they're finally there. Fascinating. And the Orioles are doing the same thing. I think the Orioles are probably even a little more advanced. And yeah, never thought I would see the day. It's pretty crazy.
Unbelievable. If the Tigers start winning, like the apocalypse is coming.
Yeah.
Well, you got the Tigers.
I gotta make a comment about this beer too before we move on. This one is so the last one was a barrel aged, and I thought it was going to be a little more heavy flavor, like a dark beer sour, but this one really is, surprisingly.
It looks.
I didn't expect that, but yeah, it tastes more like a sour riff of a porter or something like that.
Nice. Okay, I'd probably drink that. I don't like the dark beers, man. I stay away from them, but I like the sour taste. I really do.
Yeah,
especially in these. This 6-pack's going to go real quick. I'm going to have to go grab the other one. All right. 26. We are at 26 already, and we are sitting with Lara. And Lara is an outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers. He is age 19, 5'7", 155 pounds. He was drafted out of Venezuela last year. I apologize. So he was in the DSL last year, and this year he made it to single A and promoted to high A at 19 years old. Overall on the season, he had 343 at bats. His average was 286, on base 373, slugged 359, on base plus slugging 732. He had 2 home runs, 13 doubles, 61 strikeouts, 44 walks. The big calling card here is the speed. He had 30 stolen bases, but he did get caught 10 times, 9 times in single A and only once in high A. I'm interested here. I own Lara in a few leagues, and I'm excited here. He's very young. He won't be 20 until November of next year. What do you think, Ross? Tell me that we can buy here. Convince me.
This is a profile I kind of go back and forth on.
Yeah.
He does have pretty strong. Okay, so let me reframe this and start with the positives. He is young. He played this year at 18, and he was in single A and high A. That's a pretty advanced assignment. Yeah. Pretty good stuff there. And he was a hitter. Hit for decent average. It wasn't, incredible, but it was pretty decent and showed really good plate discipline. That plays up when you're that young. So I would say overall he showed really good hitting skills. The speed, I think, is a little misleading. I don't think that there's a ton of it, but I think that there's some of it. And kind of like Hector Rodriguez, he'll snag a few there, here and there. The power is the big question mark. And if there's more power to be had, then possibly the possible outcome here is a Jose Altuve type with a little stronger bat or a little better luck or a little bit of both, plus a little bit of power development. We could see a Jose Altuve type of guy. The stolen bases probably are never going to reach the heights that Altuve has reached. I don't think, but that's the high end outcome. Otherwise, you have to ask the question. You might get a decent bat, but is there going to be enough there to make him relevant? Fantasy relevant. Is there going to be enough power? Is there going to be enough stolen bases? Those are the things that you have to worry about. Yep. So I'm not sure if we're going to get that or not. I'm going to say it's worth, at this point, it's probably worth rostering him to see, depending on your league depth. I mean, there's probably in smaller leagues, there's probably going to be other guys that you want to snag above him, but in deeper leagues, he's worth taking a flyer on to see how he develops. But this is a development player, no doubt about it. Don't be mistaken.
He's very interesting to me. The thing that drives me absolutely bonkers, and this does with a lot of guys that have high stolen bases. We don't know if they're quick. We don't know if they're fast. They get caught stealing a lot. And that's just really, really weird to me, especially in the DSL. He had 7 stolen bases, but he was caught stealing 7 times.
Yeah.
That's bizarre to me. I think if you're a fast guy in the DSL, man, you're stealing bags like no other.
Right.
So getting caught that is very concerning to me. I like Lara. There's something about this profile. He's very small. He's very young. The Brewers must love him. I mean, why are you promoting a guy like this?
Yeah.
All the way up into high A. So there's got to be something there. I'm very intrigued. He's not a go get him, but like you said, he's very rosterable. You'd love to have this guy on your roster, but I don't think you go out and actively pursue him unless he's just sitting around.
So one other thing to note is he does have some helium. He's got his fans. There are people out there in the industry people that are really high on Lara. So if your league has one of those types that is bought into that, then he's going to be harder to get than you might expect too. So I'm kind of on board with you. I think if he's available and you can get him and you don't have anyone better to fill that spot with, then I think he's a good development play. But you have to wait and see, right? Like we're not doing this based on what we know he's capable of. We're doing this based on what he could be capable of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. So caution. We got a lot of caution on Lara. All right, we're on to the next one, and here we are. This is not somebody that I'm a giant fan of, but we're going to talk about him anyways. Once again, it's probably my Yankees hate. I hate the Yankees, but here we go. Jace Avina. Jace Avina is with the High A affiliate with the New York Yankees. He is 5'11", 180 pounds. He's 20 years old. He was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in round 14, picked 417 overall out of Spanish Springs Sparks, Nevada High School. Jace Avina's numbers this year looks as 326 at bats. He batted .233. On base, 373, slugged 442, on base plus slugging 815, 14 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 118 strikeouts, 56 walks, 22 doubles. I'm not here. I was actually kind of a fan of Avina when he was with the Brewers, but nothing popped out to me this year. There's something about this profile that I'm just not in love with. Low average, high strikeouts. He does have good on base percentage. I'm not in love here. Matter of fact, I think I'm walking away. So you can go ahead and try to convince everybody else.
Okay, and I will. I will play devil's advocate on this one. So I didn't even know that he went to the Yankees. I must have missed that trade. There must have been some kind of deal that sent him there this offseason because he was with the Brewers all of last season. So That's interesting, and that's a notable development, I guess. But I thought we were talking about a Brewer here for a minute. I'm gonna try to make the counter argument. So Avina is somebody that we talked about on Bats and Stats last year. Yep. And you and I both agreed that we saw a lot of risk here. We weren't buying into it. And we said, wait and see. Like, we need more. We need to see more before we're excited about it. Now, his numbers this year were worse than last year. But I'm going to say that I've seen enough now to this point to where I'm buying into it. And here's the reasons why. Because early on in the season, it played out almost exactly like you and I expected it to. And he was struggling really bad. And we were, validation for what we had presumed. The strikeouts are way too high. Don't think he's going to hit for the average to be able to maintain it. But his season dramatically changed in the second half. So he's a second half dude. And the next thing I knew, all of a sudden he was rising up leaderboards. And he's done it under the radar. Everybody they forgot about it. First half started and they just dropped it completely. The only people that were ever talking about him to begin with was you and I, as far as I'm aware. And then he pretty much just fell off the map completely. But his second half has been sneaky and very legit. So let me quote some stats. He was awful in the first half. So starting in July, he hit 297. I'm just going to say his slash line. Actually, no, I'm going to just say his OPSs. July OPS of 951. An August OPS of 1,095.
Jeez.
And a September OPS of 1,063. And in August and September specifically, he seems to have cut down his strikeout rate pretty significantly, and increased his walk rate those months pretty significantly as well. Still hitting for power, the power that he's always shown. So from my perspective, I think this guy is a huge buy opportunity. I think he's under the radar in deep leagues. I'm speaking about deep leagues specifically here. But I think this guy is a really sneaky ad. I think he's somebody that I would want to target in deep leagues to try to make a play for somebody that's a riser. I see a riser right here.
Okay, well, I love the OPSs that you brought into play there. Those 2 months at the end of the year, he was hot. I mean, sexy hot.
Yep. And get this. STS has him projected for 31 home runs per 600 plate appearances. So we did get some validation of him as the power hitter last year while showing progress with his plate discipline, which we said was the big red flag. So we're seeing it. We're seeing little glimpses of it anyway. Remains to be seen if that keeps up as he moves up, but there was clearly some kind of an adjustment that he made. So I'm all aboard. I'm all aboard the Jace Avina train.
All right. The trade was Jake Bauers to Milwaukee Brewers for Jace Avina and Brian Sanchez. Brian Sanchez is a left fielder.
That's a great deal for the Yankees.
Happened in November 17th. I do not recall that trade, but yeah, I remember Bauers playing for the Yankees. I do not recall that trade though. Huh. Yeah. All right. Well, there it is. Ross convinced you guys, but he didn't convince me. I'm not buying. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Nelson Rada. Nelson Rada is with the Single A affiliate with the Angels. He's 5'10", 160 pounds. He is only 18 years old, won't be 19 until August. And Nelson Rada has already debuted at the Single A affiliate. He had 439 at bats this year, batted .276, on base .395, slugged .346, on base plus slugging .741, 55 stolen bases. He did get caught 11 times, 2 home runs, 98 strikeouts, 73 walks, had 13 doubles and 6 triples. I love Nelson Rada. I hope you're on the same page as I am, because I think Nelson Rada has star written all over him.
I agree with you. Nelson Rada is a go-get-em in my book. He qualified 2023 as a 17-year-old playing in Single A. That's really advanced. Pretty good numbers across the board. The thing he didn't have, and really good speed, obviously, you mentioned that, and really good plate discipline. The thing he didn't have is a lot of power, but we're talking about a 17-year-old at Single A, so very advanced assignment, and I am hopeful that that's something that can grow over time, and if so, you have a star. I don't know any other way to put it. STS isn't, projecting for him to grow in power because that's not how the system is designed, but it is seeing the plate discipline. It is seeing the speed. I think this guy's go get him. Go get him, because he's not ranked highly enough for where I think his future value is going to be. I'm all for it.
You like to say helium. I like to say a rocket ship to the moon. Nelson Rada, there's something about this profile that just screams at you have to go get this guy. And I think he's starting to get buzz, right? Like there's buzz starting around Rada.
Yeah, but it's not enough. I mean, he's maybe a top 100 guy, maybe most places. I don't know. I'd have to refresh my ranking or my rankings knowledge of different lists. Do you know? Is he like top 100 Baseball America?
I don't think on America, MLB. And I don't think on MLB. His name's just popping up a lot more. And then I do a lot of mock drafts. Funny enough, randomly, we do these just mock drafts. And Rada's name, when he gets picked, it seems like there's a lot of voices around saying, man, that's a good pick with Rada.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a talent. He's one of the few players on the STS model that projects for a higher walk rate than strikeout rates. That in itself is extremely promising. So even without not a lot of power development, which I think can happen, I mean, you could easily see a Carl Crawford type with plate discipline, right? So something a little bit more than a Carl Crawford type. And if he develops a little bit more power, then what are you looking at? Maybe that outcome is pretty scary for what it could be. Mookie Betts comes to mind. That could be a Mookie Betts right there.
Let's calm down. Let's calm down a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm over here saying this a lot. When Mookie Betts was young and coming up, I think when he was his age, he had hit 2 career. I don't know. He might have had 0 career home runs by that.
I remember that. Yeah, the power did not show up till later.
Okay, so when Mookie Betts was 19, he was in low A, and he had 0 career home runs. So we're talking about Nelson Rada at 17 in single A, you know, demonstrating a lot of the same capabilities, but a little bit more power. There's something really exciting there. And this really has me thinking 2024 could be a really big year for Nelson Rada, for sure.
I was just going to say, be a really big year. Be prepared for Nelson Rada to be top 50 prospects by the end of 2024.
Oh, easily, if not higher.
Yeah. If
not higher. In my book, I think I already have him ranked in the top 50. So, I think
he's top. I think he's top 30.
Top 30, maybe even higher. I mean, the ceiling here is a top 10 prospect, in my opinion.
Yep.
So
I don't think he's going to shoot up that high in 2024. I would love it, but I think it's a no doubt 2024. By the end of the season, he'll be a top 50 prospect. And if you want to buy him, you buy him now.
Now's the time to get him. We're on the same page. Nelson Rada, go get him.
Go get him. Love it. All right, our next one. Okay, this is a fun one, and I think we're both going to have a lot to say here, and I think we're both going to say the exact same thing. This next prospect is Jace DeLauter. Jace DeLauter is 6'4", 235 pounds. He's 22 years old. He was drafted by the Cleveland Guardians in round 1, picked 16 overall. College, James Madison. This year, he had 3 different affiliates, rookie level, high A, and double A. I'm going to lump them all together. He had 214 at bats, 355 average, on base 417, slugged 528, on base plus slugging 945, 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 22 doubles, 30 strikeouts, 23 walks. I think I'm going to come out and I'm just going to say what we're both thinking. when he's healthy, he's a top 10 prospect. He's going to be a freaking monster if he's not hurt. I think that foot is a problem because it's been broke twice. If I'm recalling that correctly, he broke his foot twice, which is not a good sign. Ross, I'm telling you, if he stays healthy, he's a top 10 prospect.
Boy, that's some very bold statements from you, and I'm not totally off. I'm not on a different page with you. I don't think either. He's a hitting machine. There's no doubt about it. We talked about Nolan Shanuel the other day, and there's some similarities from his college days with Shanuel. So we're seeing something kind of like that, and he's clearly, you're right, when healthy, he's a hitter. He sprays the ball all over the field. He's got some pretty good power. He's got some speed. He does have some helium surrounding him.
Yeah.
But he's somebody I would be interested, definitely go get him. But the price might be where the sticking point is. I don't think he's billed so highly that he's going to be totally unaffordable. So that's why I think he's somebody you want to target for sure.
Do you have his James Madison stats in front of you?
I do.
Was he a monster in college?
He was, yeah. I mean, that's where the Shanuel sort of comp was coming from. Because, I mean, smaller school at James Madison, I'll give you the rundown of his career numbers and then his final season, because they're both very nice. His slash overall for his career was a .402 batting average, .520 on-base percentage, and a .715 slugging percentage. Not huge home run totals or anything like that. We're looking at, looks like his first couple of years he had 7 home runs, and then he finished his third season with 8. So not huge numbers there, not huge stolen base numbers, but they're all serviceable, And his final season, he slashed .437, .576, .828. So 1404 OPS, more walks than strikeouts, everything that you want. I mean, all the boxes are checked. He's kind of doing the same thing in the minor leagues so far too. So
yeah. One thing that I think I forget about is he missed all of 2022 and then only had 214 at bats in 2023. He's much bigger than I thought he was. He's 6'4", 235.
It's huge.
He's a big dude.
Right.
Man,
the thing that's intriguing to me here is that, there was a time when Juan Soto was also considered an injury risk. And he's been a pretty full-time player as a major leaguer after debuting at 19, So I don't know, maybe it was just an injury and, he's ready to go now. Maybe he's finally got it rehabbed. I don't know. I'm not a lot to put a stock into concerns of whether a player is going to have injury issues or not. Sometimes that gets me in trouble, but I think it's pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is Eloy Jimenez. He was pretty healthy until all of a sudden he went into the major leagues. So then he became an injury concern there. So
I think that's completely different than DeLauter. Right now we're dealing with a broken foot. The injuries that concern me and, for lack of a better word, piss me off are the soft tissue muscle injuries. When you have a constant hamstring, a constant calf, triceps, obliques, stuff like that. Those are just massively frustrating because they can be avoided. You get a better strength and conditioning coach. You start stretching those muscles, working those muscles in a different way so you don't get those pulls, those strains. Broken legs, broken foot, torn ACLs, those are unavoidable. You can't do anything about those. Those just happen. Those are unlucky. The soft tissue stuff, man, with Eloy, that just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, anyway, my endorsement is go get him. Chase DeLauter is the guy you want.
Yeah, and
That's
this
my
is.
assessment. And I'm probably going to have to whip up some trades after this. After we get off here.
Are we on 25?
We just DeLauter, if we're done with him, was number 23, so we're moving on to number 22.
He's much too low for me. He's top 10 best baseball prospects on the planet, in my opinion. Okay, we're gonna go on a different journey on this next one. A journey that's very frustrating for me, in particular. We're gonna jump into George Valera. George Valera is with the Cleveland Guardians. He is 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. He's 23 years old. He was born in Queens, New York on 11/13 in 2000. This is where I get frustrated. This is massively frustrating to me. Career-wise, he has 1,244 at-bats. He averaged 242, on base of 363, slugged 452, on base plus slugging of 815, with 63 career home runs, 23 stolen bases, got caught stealing 16 times, strikes out 387 times, walked 228, 52 doubles, 10 triples. 2023, 277 at-bats, 220 average, on base 349, 397 slug, on base plus slugging 746, another 11 home runs, 3 stolen bases. This is why I'm going to say that I'm massively frustrated here. Is I've owned Valera since the get-go, the very get-go, because everything was the best pure swing you'll ever see in your life. Like it was just beautiful. And he contacts the ball. The ball pops off his bat. You can hear it from miles away when it hits his bat. He's got all the potential in the world. He's an athletic freak. He can do this. He can do that. Well, you know what he can't do? He can't play baseball very well. All of this stuff, all this smoke, all this everything was how amazing he was at hitting. And he just doesn't hit. And this is the frustrating thing about real life scouts and projections based off of watching somebody play compared to what we do, which is all statistical based. All we care about is stats, right? This is the mold for why I can't stand when someone tells me he's got a beautiful swing. Is a profile like this. And Valera's very, I'm only kidding when I say he's not very good at baseball. He's amazing at baseball. But from what scouts said compared to what we've seen in 5 years? 2018 to 5 years. 5 years. It's completely, it's not even in the same realm.
So, I want to emphasize something. We're here to be critical. That's what we do. You know, we're like movie critics, but for baseball prospects. So we're not saying that we could do it any better. Sure as hell couldn't. Not even close, you know. No, George Valera is very talented, clearly, but he's not the player that I think we expected him to be. And I would dare say that his stock right now is lower than it was when he was 17. And one of the things that I find endlessly interesting is how people put so much emphasis on prospect upside. I hear it all the time. All the time I hear from people, FYPD is all about upside, or I go with the upside no matter what. And it's, you know, upside is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But, and I've said this many times, what I do is I try to take the guessing out of the game. And if I'm guessing, then I'm probably going to be, I am playing a losing game. Because I know when I'm best is when I'm not guessing, when I'm actually making informed decisions. And that comes from a lot of statistical analysis across the board. George Valera at 17 was getting a lot of helium and was billed as the next Juan Soto,
Yep.
you know? And he's not that. Is he a good ball player? Yeah, I think he's a pretty good ball player still. And I think even the stats are telling us that. Was 2023 a disappointment? Yes, it was, no doubt. We thought he was going to be in the major leagues this year. So we didn't get that. We were already a little bit disappointed, disillusioned last year because the numbers were not the great Juan Soto numbers. But he's still the same player that he was last year. You know, he's not hitting for very high average. He's getting on base at a pretty good clip. And he's got pretty decent power. So those traits remain. He started the year hurt, so he didn't get a chance to really showcase, I think, his full skill set this year. But still, the numbers are kind of disappointing. So I'm not going to get on. I'm not going to say like he's somebody that you go get necessarily. He could be a buy low candidate, but I think you need to temper your expectations pretty significantly as well. So you're not going to get Juan Soto out of him. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So,
and I apologize for going off right there, but there was some deep roots there. I turned down some huge trade offers 3 years ago for Valera because the helium in him. He was on a rocket ship to the moon, and I turned down everything because I thought he was going to be the greatest thing since Juan Soto. 19 years old, he's going to be in the bigs. And
yeah, you bought in.
I bought in. Yeah, I bought in.
And here are the risks. I mean, these are the risks with playing this game if you're going to be going for just upside. You're just relying on some other person's word or evaluation or what they think is aesthetically pleasing, which can be misleading. People have biases. You know, that's just the way it goes. So,
and for a long time, I was a big proponent for taking guys that were two sport athletes. You know, they played football in college. They played basketball in college. They played multiple things because I thought that was the way to find athletic guys, freaks of nature that can build on, you know, like Tim Anderson's of the world. Tim Anderson played at Florida State football. Those were my kind of guys. I will tell you right now, I lost a lot of seasons because of that train of thought, because I was searching for upside. I was always trying to find that diamond in the rough that was a freak athlete that at any moment could turn it on. Luis Robert. Or it's Robert. I always said Robert, and apparently it's Louis Robert. Don't try to spruce it up there. So back to your point of this.
It seems like you might have been right about Robert. So he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. So is Tim Anderson.
He used to be. I don't know. He used to be pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't think he ever hit a home run last year, which was really weird.
No.
But anyways, but what I'm trying to get at is sometimes, especially in this realm of what we are talking about, of what we are doing, is trust the stats. Just trust the stats. You don't need to hear the outside noise of, man, this guy swings his bat 116 miles an hour, and when the ball hits it goes 140. We don't care.
I would take that even a step further. And I'm going to say something that might be kind of a controversial statement in general, but trust the science. I mean, the data science in this sense, but I would say trust the data science, because there is a little bit more than just the numbers, right? But there's things that the numbers tell us. You just need to know how to properly extrapolate the proper information from them. Like, here's an example. And this is something we can say about George Valera. Perhaps he's a little unlucky. You know, he's got low BABIPs, which would suggest that maybe he wasn't impacting the ball the same this year because of the injury, or it could have just been bad luck. But when you have a statistical model like we've built at STS, it does make adjustments, common sense adjustments. It's not going like full bore and saying like, this is 100% luck or something like that, or anything to that nature, or this is 100% bad luck, I should say. But it's making adjustments based on that information, things that we know about the game. So the data science is really where I would focus, and it is at the end of the day, it's focusing on the numbers, right? But it's not always just the surface stats. And sometimes we get that billing, like we all we do is look at surface stats. It's like, yeah, there's science to it, there's data science behind it. So anyway, trust the data science.
So with your BABIP stuff, and I don't want to get too far off track, but I just want to throw this little poke in there on your BABIPs. When you have multiple years of bad BABIPs, sometimes luck is a skill.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, one of these profound articles that I read was BABIP is a skill. That was the title of the article. And
I need to read it because I think I would love that article.
It's true. I think that there's a lot of truth to that within certain boundaries, though, because we also know other, flip sides to that. Okay, here's a really good example. Now we're getting way off track, so I'll be quick about this. We can rein it back in. Nolan Jones. He's on the hype machine. And people are jumping all over him. They're saying he's going to have a huge 2024. You might be one of them. And I don't want to rain on the parade, but he had a BABIP above 400 last year. And he's always run high BABIPs, so it's reasonable to assume he's a guy that runs higher BABIPs than the average sort of player. He strikes out a lot, and so he's got other things that limit his ability to hit as well as he did last year, and he did great as a pro. He had a really good season. But you're not going to be hitting 405 for a career. Nobody does that. Tony Gwynn didn't do that. Nobody does. So you can put some boundaries on that. And I said, you got to lop 60 points off that batting average from last year, right off the top. And then he's a 240 hitter. And does he look as attractive as a 240 hitter, 230, 240 hitter? Then he does as a 300 hitter that's putting up these nice counting stats? No, probably not. So, I don't know. Both of those work together, right? Anyway.
If you ever want to ask me a question about a ball player, ask yourself two things first. Does he play for the Rockies? No, I don't like him. Number two, does he play for the Tigers? Yes, I love him.
All right, before we go on to our next guy, I'm on beer 3 now.
Oh, nice.
This is the cold standard. Stay chill and drink cold. It's an IPA. Hard to see because it's white. Anyway, moving on. We got a long ways to go.
That's a different. That's a flip flop in taste, there, pal.
Oh well, now I'm down to just IPAs. So they're all IPAs from here.
All right, here we go. Our next one, and go ahead. Everybody do it. Everybody go like this. Pat yourself on the back. You know why we pat ourselves on the back? Because we discovered Jakob Marsee. Nobody was talking about Jakob Marsee. And you know who did? Me and Ross sat here right in front of all of you and said Jakob Marsee is a superstar. And here he is. Let's break down Jakob Marsee's stats. He is 6 foot tall, 180 pounds. He is 22 years old. He was drafted round 6, pick 180 out of Central Michigan in 2022. Jakob Marsee's, I'll break down his career first, and then we'll jump into 2023. So his career, 556 at-bats, batted .268, on base, .416, slugged .424, on base plus slugging, .840, 18 home runs, 61 stolen bases, 23 doubles, strikeouts 122, walks 128. Come on, Ross. Do it. Just real quick. Get it up there. Pat yourself on the back. There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
if we were in person, I would pat you on the back because you were the one that brought him to my attention. I remember we were having that discussion. We brought him up on one of the Bats and Stats podcasts last year, and as I was looking through his numbers, because I was familiar with the name, but
so there was two.
I remember as we were talking about it, I was like, dang, I've got to go make a trade offer or something right now. You know, like I really became infatuated with the profile as we were talking about it. I was like, there's something here. This is pretty intriguing, you know? So yeah, and he improved throughout all of last season too. And I want to point that out. So the stellar improvement in his plate discipline. Well, I mean, it wasn't even an improvement. He had that his entire career.
Yep.
But he had stellar plate discipline, hitting some home runs. It's not an over exorbitant enough, but it's power that will play in the major leagues, and stealing a ton of bases. He was promoted as a reward to Double-A. This was as a 22-year-old. Yeah, and I mean, just did better. He hit better there.
Yeah.
And then in the AFL this year, we didn't even talk about the AFL. This was well before that. He slugged .707, hit .391, continuing with the excellent plate discipline, power, speed, everything you want. I think he's a go-get-him. He's still just 22. What do you want to say? I mean, maybe a cup of coffee next season at 22, 23. He'll be on the precipice of 23 probably. So go get him.
Go.
No, he'll be 23 by the time that would roll around for sure. But I say go get him.
Yeah, I would love to drop the F-bomb right here, but go effing get him. Man, Jakob Marsee. So there was two guys that I brought up on that podcast. There was a Marion Boyd and there was Jakob Marsee. And I asked, because I was infatuated with a Marion Boyd. But then as we started looking at both of them, we both it was like lights turned on. Jakob Marsee is a stud, is a freaking stud. Even his college stats were insane. Does he have a comp on STS?
Let's check it out. He does. And this is not a great comp. I don't love this comp. Peter Borjos. You remember him?
It rings a bell. Was he an Oriole?
He was an Angel. I think he might have also played for the Orioles. He bounced around a little bit. He was a bit of a journeyman.
I remember the name. Boujores or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he played for the Orioles. He played for the Cardinals, the Phillies, the Rays, the Braves. He was a bit of a journeyman later on. Yeah. But he was an interesting prospect, and this is actually such an appropriate comp because he was a little bit about the same age as Marsee was. He was playing at around the same level. A little less power than Marsee had, but he stole a lot of bases. And then when he came up as a pro, it was kind of similar. Like he had decent power. What didn't carry through is his plate discipline. And I think that's the difference maker for Marsee, is that he's got that plate discipline to help carry through to the major leagues. Higher OBP numbers. I think we're looking at a successful pro that could put up some kind of similar counting stats as Borjos did in larger samples. So that's promising to me. That's 15-20 potential there, 15-25 potential maybe.
15-30.
So 15-30 possibly.
With what the stolen bases are doing right now in the MLB, I see 30 bases, no problem.
So FPS projects him for 15 and 23. That's pretty good.
It's awesome.
I'm intrigued here. I like it. I say he's a go get him.
And I don't know him from Adam, right? But I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I think everybody's going to fall in love with Jakob Marsee.
Yeah, Okay, so I could see that.
Just one of those things.
I do have him ranked in my personal. I have him ranked in my personal top 100 as number 91, I think.
Yeah, I think he might have cracked 80 on mine, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Jakob Marsee, so go get him.
Go get him.
That shouldn't cost you much at all, and the rate on return on that is insane. All right, we're jumping into our next one.
We're all about ROI, baby. We're all about ROI. Let's go get it.
Yeah, that's right.